2025 meeting of the Council's Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. We do have a quorum today with 8 members present, so thanks everybody for being here. We will start with our public comment period, and we have one person signed up to give public comment. Is Tyler Burnett here? Mr. Burnett, thanks for joining us. If you would come up to that microphone right there, I'm going to try to remember how to do a timer. And is it 2 minutes per person? All right, you'll have 2 minutes to speak, and that'll begin now. You're recognized.
Okay. First, I'm Tyler Burnett. I'm from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, born and raised here. And I own an artificial turf installation company in Murfreesboro that does a lot of work in Middle Tennessee. And I saw the bill being presented today that basically states that turf often designed to route water rapidly away from sites instead of infiltrating the water. I wanted to just be able to be here to help educate exactly what we do when we install artificial turf. And I do agree that if it's installed improperly, it could push water away, but installed properly, I think it does not do that. And so I've had some previous meetings with stormwater, and I would just like to be a part of the solution as we look to create a regulation around how artificial turf is installed. I've installed over 5 million square feet in Middle Tennessee. I know it's not something that people see all day, every day. That is something that we see all day, every day. And I just want to, like I said, I'm from here. I want to put a good regulation in place. I think it's important as this continues to grow here in Middle Tennessee. And I just want to be a part of that solution, any testing that needs to be done, and help create a standard so it can clear up a little bit of the confusion. Sometimes we go to jobs, it's like, can you do this? Can you not do that? And with us not having a regulation in place, it does cause some uncertainty from design to construction.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. And that was the only person who signed up for public comment ahead of time. Is anybody that's present here today that did not get a chance to sign up wishing to make a public comment to the committee? All right, seeing none, so I'll declare the public comment period closed, and we'll move on to our agenda. So I have a proposed consent agenda, which is every item except for committee item 14. This is BL 2025-897. Are there any other items? Councilmember Evans Siegel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Just 1327, number 1, RS 2025-1327.
1327. Excellent. We'll remove the first item as well. Anything further need to come off for questions, comments, discussion, any of that stuff? All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and read the captions of all the items that are on our consent agenda. Hoping I can get through this. We start with committee item 2. This is resolution RS 2025-1336 by Coupin, Porterfield, Gamble, and Parker, a resolution approving a preliminary engineering agreement between CSX Transportation, a Virginia corporation with its principal place of business in Jacksonville, Florida, and the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to facilitate the installation of proposed pedestrian lighting under CSX Bridge crossing at 5th Avenue. Committee item 3, this is RS 2025-1337 by Taylor, Coupin, Porterfield, and Parker, a resolution approving a license agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by and through the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure and the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation by and through its Commissioner of Transportation for the installation, operation, and maintenance of lighting sculptures, reflective paint, and other lighting elements and improvements at or near the bridge, bridge abutments, and bridge decks of the I-65 overpass on Arthur Avenue. Committee item 4, RS 2025-1338 by Porterfield and Parker, a resolution accepting the terms of a cooperative purchasing master agreement for facilities maintenance and sweeping services for the Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure. Committee item 5, RS 2025-1339 by Coupin, Gamble, and Parker, a resolution authorizing Fourth and Commerce LLC to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 147 4th Avenue North. Committee item 6, RS 2025-1341 by Porterfield, Gamble, and Parker, a resolution approving Amendment 1 to the participation agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Department of Water and Sewerage Services and Nolensville Owner LLC, a subsidiary of Southern Land Company, to clarify terms of participation and extend the term of the agreement for a period of 6 months. Committee item 7, RS 2025-1342 by Gamble and Parker, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public sanitary sewer main and sanitary sewer manholes for property located at 2920 Hamilton Church Road, also known as Autumn Lake. Committee item 8, RS 2025-1343 by Benedict Gamble and Parker, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public sanitary sewer main and sanitary sewer manholes for property located at Hart Lane Unnumbered, also known as Hart Lane Residential. Committee item 9, this is RS 2025-1344 by Toombs, Gamble, and Parker, a resolution to amend ordinance number BL 2023-146 to authorize the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to add phasing and the abandonment of a fire hydrant assembly, to update the map and parcel information, and modify the linear feet of water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements to be accepted for now one property located at 11 Lucille Street, also known as City Vista Phase 1. Committee item 10, RS 2025-1345 by Horton, Gamble, and Parker, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water main and to accept new public water main for property located at 1111 63rd Avenue North, also known as General Shoe. Committee item 11, RS 2025-1346 by Benton, Gamble, and Parker, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, and sanitary sewer manholes for property located at Rural Hill Road, Unnumbered, also known as Bella Terra. Committee item 12, this is RS 2025-1347 by Toombs, Gamble, and Parker, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public sanitary sewer manhole for 3 properties located at 2125 Buena Vista Pike, 2145 B. Goodrich Avenue, and 2131 B. Goodrich Avenue, also known as Goodrich Townhomes Phase 2. Committee item 13, this is RS 2025-1348 by Nash, Gamble, and Parker, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water main and to accept new public water main for property located at 4420 Taylor Road, also known as Sojourn Nolensville Apartments. All right, now bills on second reading. We have committee item 15, BL 2025-899 by Vo, Parker, and Gamble, an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of alley number 89 right-of-way from 2nd Avenue South to alley number 148. Committee item 16, BL 2025-900, an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of unnumbered alley right-of-way from 1st Avenue South to alley number 169. Committee item 17, BL 2025-901 by Hancock, Gamble, and Parker, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to acquire a portion of property through negotiation, condemnation, or fee simple take and permanent and temporary easements through negotiation, condemnation, and acceptance for property located at 1220 Bearwick Trail for the Clean Water Nashville Neely's Bend Sewer Pump Station Upgrade Project. Committee item 18, this is BL 2025-902 by Coop and Gamble and Parker. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing fire line, fire hydrant assembly, and easement, and to accept new fire line, fire hydrant assembly, and easement for property located at 419 Gay Street, also known as NES Central Substation, Water. Committee item 19, this is BL 2025-903 by Vo, Gamble, and Parker. An ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public combination sewer main, combination sewer manholes, and easement, and to accept the vertical relocation of existing water main and new public sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer manholes for 3 property located at 1203 and 1207 17th Avenue South and 1200 18th Avenue South, also known as Vanderbilt University Roberts Academy. Committee item 20, this is BL 2025-904 by Evans, Gamble, and Parker, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 4214 Central Pike. Lastly, we have committee item 21, this is BL 2025-905 by Parker and Gamble, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new sanitary sewer pump station, new public sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 7375 Nolensville Road in Williamson County, also known as Nolensville Town Square Phase 1. Having heard the captions, are there any other items that need to be bumped off? Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Items 2, 3, and 4, RS 2025, 13, 36, 37, and 38.
All right, we'll
Stands
remove committee items 2, 3, and 4, RS 2025, 1336, 1337, and 1338. Any other items need to come off for questions, comments, discussion, anything? All right, seeing none, could we get a motion on the consent agenda? All right, properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, we will take a vote on the consent agenda. If you're in favor of approving the items on the consent agenda, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? We have 8. All right, recommend approval of the consent agenda items, 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. All right, that brings us to our first item not on consent, which is committee item 1. This is RS 2025-1327 by Huffman, a resolution amending resolution number R84-334 to increase the levy and set the rates of the mineral severance tax. We've got the lead sponsor here with us today. Would you like to be recognized, sir? Councilmember Huffman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me, even though I'm not on the committee. And thank you for the interest of the council member on the committee about this particular legislation. I'll run through it really quickly. Essentially, what this does is it increases the overall tax levy on minerals taken out of rock quarries in Davidson County. This legislation is enacted through state legislation that was passed earlier this year. That was House Bill 695. That legislation allows local municipalities and county governments to increase every 5 years by 5 cents starting on July 1st. So this legislation essentially lines up with that. Right now, just if we want to talk about overall numbers, and I plan on doing that in budget and finance if it does get pulled off, the mineral tax last year through fiscal year 2025 through April 30th, brought in about $559,000. This tax, the first year, would be bringing in right around, and this is numbers by finance, right around $220,000, and then it would increase every time that the tax itself would go up, which would be every 5 years. I'd entertain any questions if anyone has any, or if the administration would like to comment on as well.
Thank you. So we'll need a motion from a committee member. I properly moved and seconded. Did I see Councilmember Horton? Is that your hand? Councilmember Evan Siegel, you are recognized. Evan Siegel, Horton was just touching his face or something.
Oh, okay. Didn't want to jump ahead. I guess I just want to clarify. It looks like if it was R84, does that mean we haven't changed the tax rate since 1984?
I'll go to Special Counsel Darby.
That's correct. We can only change the tax rate if state law enables us to do so, and they have just done that.
Okay. Thanks. And I think the council member answered my question, but I thought this was like a quarry tax effectively, but because it's not in our code, and I guess like the free muni code doesn't have the updated state law on it yet. I wasn't sure. But I suppose it's up to those folks to know that state law was changed, but I didn't know if we'd sort of let anybody know that this was coming or if this was common knowledge.
I see the sponsor seeking to be recognized. Councilmember Huffman, you're recognized.
Yeah, the only reason that I'm running it is essentially I have a rock quarry in my district, and I've been tracking it, and I asked the administration if I could carry it.
All right, thanks.
Excellent. Any further discussion on the resolution? All right, seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, we still at 8. Recommend approval, 8 in favor, 0 against. All right, that brings us to committee item 2. This is resolution RS 2025-1336. I've already read the caption. It's committee item 2, RS 2025-1336. Can we get a motion on this resolution, please? Properly moved and seconded. And I will go to Councilmember Allen, who requested we pull this from consent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is the same question for 1338, which Matt Purvis has already answered. I just want to get it on the record. These are both about lighting underneath bridges, which is always a good thing. But I just wanted to hear NDOT say that those will be designed with dark skies principles, just of not being wasteful and shining light where you don't need to and dimming it when you can't.
Thank you. So we'll go back to the podium back there. If you'd please introduce yourself, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Matt Purvis, I'm the Council Liaison for the Nashville Department of Transportation, Multimodal Infrastructure. Yes, any project we have that we do in conjunction with any sort of lighting outside is dark skies compliant.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you for the record. And that applies to 1337 as well, which we're not on yet.
That's correct.
Okay, so we can skip that one.
Excellent. Thank you. Any further discussion on 1336? Seeing none, so we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of 1336, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? We now have 9. All right, recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. All right, next we have committee item 3. This is RS 2025-1337. 1337, could we get a motion on 1337, please? All right, properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on 1337? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against. Next, we have committee item 4. This is RS 2025-1338, 1338. We already read the caption before. Could we get a motion on 1338, please? All right, properly moved and seconded. I'll go to Councilmember Allen for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a couple of questions. Again, Matt's already answered, but I'd just love to get it out there for discussion. First question was, does doing this as a cooperative purchasing agreement affect how we follow up with compliance with the standards to actually sweep the streets? And
And we'll go to the back podium if you've already introduced yourself, sir.
Thank you, Chair. So moving this from the old agreement to making a cooperative doesn't really change the terms of the agreement, but it does save us money ultimately. I mean, that's the main purpose of why we're doing it this way as opposed to the way we've done it thus far. So far, the contractor gives reports to us, rather detailed reports of how many cars are in the way, how many tons of debris we pick up, miles swept, et cetera. Those reports won't change, and we're hoping they can get more positive the more we find new ways to help get cars out of the way, as we're doing with the District 17 pilot program, hoping to spread that further as it goes well.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember?
Thank you. So just to follow up on the District 17 pilot, my understanding is that's the one place where records are being kept of cars in the way, and that on other streets, they just drive down the middle and say, we drove down that street, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they got anything off the curb. So can you talk just a little bit about how we can expand what we've learned from District 17 to the at least the rest of the UDO, where there are lots of cars parked on the, and right now there's just no good way to let people know when they're coming, because the database is so hard to use and it's backward looking rather than forward looking. So how can we make this more effective and make sure we're spending our money well?
Thank you. So I will say, even before the District 17 pilot, the contractor does report how many debris or how many tons of debris they do pick up. So obviously they run into a lot of issues of cars being in the way of the sweepers, but that's what spawned the District 17 project. As far as what we're seeing from that pilot, it's still going. It's taken a little longer to kind of figure out all the little idiosyncrasies and start to get compliance under control. Currently, for the project, we are, as of right now, we're moving to we've done warnings up until now, and we're partnering with local folks in the Napier, Sudicum areas where this project is, to try to get the word out. It's a lot of MDHA housing and a lot of just harder to reach folks in general. So that's been our biggest hurdles for the pilot project, but we've continued to kick back the more onerous penalties as a part of that project. So as of right now, we are looking to move towards moving from warnings to citations in August, and then potentially towing in October, as we really get a big push of information out. over the last couple months, we actually installed signage at the entryway to all of those streets to say, hey, on these days, in the month, move your car. And it's mostly a communication game more than anything. So a lot of things to replicate across the city, but we've got to figure out all the kinks in the pilot first.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just think that's really important. Our criteria says they're going to remove 95% of the debris. And I know on a street like mine where they just drive down the middle, there's no way they're doing that. So I'm excited that we're figuring out how to make that work better.
Thank you. And I also see Councilmember Evans Siegel. You are recognized.
Thanks, Councilmember. To that point, they drove down my street today, and it was a lot of debris that went up in the air, but they can only do half the street because you can park on the other half of the street. So it moved a lot of dirt. I'm not sure how much it actually picked up, and it would have been great to pick some of that up.
See Councilmember Benedict seeking to be recognized. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question. Going back to when I was in college, we used to have in the city I grew up in or went to college in, I guess maybe I grew up during those days. We had parking on one side of the street 4 days a week and parking on the other side 3 days a week. Are we ever looking so that we could sweep? And if you were parked on the wrong side of the street, people just dealt with it. Are we looking at that type of a solution ever at all in the city for our curbed areas in particular?
Is that, Mr. Purvis, would you like to address that question? You're recognized.
Yes, I can. Thank you, Chair. Of course, we're looking towards the future of what this program can look like, looking at our peer cities and the cities that frankly are ahead of us in a lot of ways when it comes to street sweeping. So it's scaling up is obviously an issue of enforcement and resources. With the pilot program specifically, it has been a strain on enforcement activities to make sure we're getting compliance. So as you all know, we're trying to scale up our enforcement the longer we go. And also as far as, for example, this contract, as we scale more up and up and up to cover more parts of the city in a way that is intensive that we want to be, it'll take more resources. But we're certainly looking ahead and seeing what the models that work in other cities are and how to replicate them.
I would just add that potentially this also had something to do with snow removal. It was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, but it also was a long time ago. So they had a program set up. You know, I didn't graduate college last year. So anyway, I appreciate the alternative looks at this. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any further discussion on, Councilmember Spain, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this isn't specific to this particular resolution, but it just seems like a large proportion of these cooperative agreements that come before us are piggybacking off agreements, original agreements with Sourcewell. And I don't recall if that's limited to NDOT or if that's true for other metro departments as well, but I'm just wondering why that is.
Mr. Purvis, would you like to address that, or we can go to the administration for that as well?
I would most likely push the administration. It's more of a procurement question.
Wonderful. So let me, would anyone from the administration be able to address that question?
Mr. Chair, I wouldn't, but finance will be here for budget today.
If you could introduce yourself, please, sir.
Dave Rosenberg, Mayor's Office.
Thank you.
And council members, yeah, I think finance is best equipped to answer that later this afternoon.
Is that satisfactory, Councilmember?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion on Resolution 2025-1338? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, do we still have 9? Thank you. Recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. That brings us to our, what I believe is the last item that was not on consent. Bills on second reading. We have committee item 14. This is BL 2025-897 by Druffel and Allen, an ordinance amending sections 15.64.010, 15.64.130, and 15.64.131 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws pertaining to the residential infill regulation of artificial turf, multifamily structures, infill tree credits, and development plan submission requirements, and requiring commensurate updates to the Stormwater Management Manual. Could we get a motion on this item, please? All right, properly moved and seconded, and we have the lead sponsor present with us today. So I'll go first to Mr. Druffel, if you'd like to be recognized.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. This goes back 3 years, and we've been working with stormwater and water as we see the increased density, increased larger houses, and the increase in impervious surface forcing the water off. So we tried to find those areas where we thought had the best opportunity to make improvements. One of the areas that we saw was the tree credit. The prior tree credit had almost zero, well, it had zero takers. So we recognize that if we improve the tree credit, we have a better chance of making a difference. Some of these large trees can take, 5,000 to 10,000 gallons of water. So what a better natural way to go. And then the second thing was the 3-family or more multifamily structures, and then putting into place regulations to ensure that we mitigate the stormwater on that side. So appreciate water. I appreciate Council Lady Allen helping with this. I've been working on it for a long time, and we think this will help mitigate some of the water. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any committee members seeking to be recognized for discussion on this? Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have an amendment that I'd like to move, and then we can discuss all kinds of things. So I'll speak first about the amendment. And then thank Councilmember Duffel for his persistence on this, because for me, this goes back all the way to 2014 when I served on an infill to stakeholders group that worked on coming up with the original infill legislation. And at the time, we knew that that there were some things that we would need to be tweaking later. So I appreciate all the work he's put into ensuring that we circle back around to that. And I hope that we will ultimately get to something that ensures that we, as council members, don't continue to get the calls from homeowners who are now being flooded because of a project that happened up the hill from them. This amendment would make 2 changes dealing with artificial turf, which is also another requirement that is in the legislation, just asking stormwater to continue, the stormwater folks to continue to refine an official policy specifically for turf in the stormwater manual. I really have been paying attention to the tree part of this, which is what I will speak to about more once we finish this discussion on this. But was contacted by some folks who install turf who just felt like more discussion could be had on that. And we are not finalizing any regulations with this. We are just asking the Metro Stormwater folks to continue working on it. So I had just made some adjustments to the language about that, acknowledging that maybe there are some installations that that can function just as well as grass does. I am not a turf expert. I don't pretend to be in any way. And I know that the folks in stormwater have studied this much more than I do and can talk specifically about language that they have in the development manual now that simply refers to using the same criteria as pervious pavements. I think that Metro Stormwater feels comfortable with that. I think some turf people would like to have further discussion. I would encourage further discussion. So this language just changes the recital, which, as we know, is not law. It's just legislative intent on that. And then secondly, there was a definition in there about residential property that's in the existing legislation that is removed by the current bill because there's some question about how we deal with 3 and 4 family units, as the council member has referred to. And by taking that out, we were left with another definition that says non-residential is anything that we didn't define as residential. So if we don't have that definition, we're sort of in trouble. This may not be perfect. I'm not sure. I would appreciate if Director Darby could perhaps weigh in on if we're better off not having either of those definitions, or if this is better, or if maybe we need a little bit more time to think about it. So I'm catching you off guard, asking you to opine.
Special counsel on the residential definition question.
I agree that it seems that it was an oversight to remove one without removing the other, but it might be, I might appreciate a little more time to go in and look to see whether one route is better than the other route.
Thank you. I tend to lean in that direction as well. I know Councilmember Dreffel is eager to get this moving, but there may be a couple other questions that come up. So I think I would like to go ahead and move this amendment and hear the discussion, and then we can talk about other parts of the bill as well.
All right, can we get a second?
So I would like to move the amendment.
All right, so the amendment's now before us. Any questions, comments, discussion about the amendment specifically? I have one about the residential, and So my question is, why are we specifying a number of units in the definition of residential? We kind of hit this when we were debating some of the proposed surveillance technologies about, what is a residential or a commercial property and whatnot. And, I think places where people live are residential places. And if it's 5 units, if it's 20 units, I think I'm kind of agnostic to that as far as if we're going to have any definitions. Now, we might come to the conclusion that not having either of the definitions in the code is the correct thing. But I think if we do keep one, I would prefer that it be agnostic as to unit count. So, Councilmember Allen.
If I might just explain my rationale, and then other people can weigh in as well. Right now, there's a threshold of 10,000 square feet that triggers an automatic stormwater review or the requirement for a grading permit. And then the residential infill, which was specifically the name of the process that we went through back in 2014, said that residential infill property that had more than 800 additional square feet of impervious surface would be required to meet the requirements in the new stormwater infill regulations that we promulgated at that time. And so anything that's over 10,000 square feet is automatically covered by the other piece, which tends to be most of the residential multifamily. So in general, it covers it. But there was a concern that some of the smaller residential was falling into no man's land between that 800. It should be caught by the 800 square foot threshold, but it didn't quite hit the 10,000 square foot threshold. And this was just an attempt to capture that. As I said, it may not be a perfect attempt. That number maybe should be 6. I was hoping Matthew Wilkinson, who was copied on the email, would give me some planning advice on that, but I'm not sure he realized I was asking him a question. I wasn't very direct about it. So again, that's where it come from.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. Any other discussion, questions on the amendment? I see Evan Siegel. Councilmember, you're recognized.
That's helpful history. I think I also, though, lean to if people live there, then we should be looking at size and not how many units, because how many units doesn't even always tie to how many people, but it certainly isn't the same thing as impervious surface. And I wonder if there isn't a way to, if we need this residential definition, to define it in a way that just people live there and it, falls in the bucket of square footage that we're concerned about. Because as we've discussed, I live in a block with multifamily, and I have 6 people in my house, but it has the same impervious surface as the house next, probably has more impervious surface, honestly, than the house next door, which has 6 apartments in it and definitely more than 6 people.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, the 10,000 foot figure, that's related to disturbance, not the actual build. Okay, yeah, not the actual impervious surface. And another reason this kind of caught my eye, and I was thinking, is just as we're looking at kind of enabling, plex manners and like single stair walk up apartment, smaller apartment buildings, multifamily buildings. I want to make sure that what's getting included in regulated infill is that we're not pushing all those housing types that might have more than 4 units automatically to full grading, because some of those can be built at a very modest kind of neighborhood scale. And I just want to make sure that there's space for them to be included in regulated infill where appropriate. So with any other discussion, questions, comments on the amendment specifically? Okay, I guess we'll go to a vote unless there's further. Councilmember, go to the amendment sponsor, Councilmember Allen.
Thank you. I would say, I feel like this is important. This bill will not be amendable on third. This may not be the perfect amendment, and that happens often. So I would be willing not to move this amendment if we were comfortable deferring the resolution so that we can do some finessing on this. I would not be comfortable not moving this amendment if we are choosing to move on to second reading. And so perhaps a comment from the lead sponsor would be handy at this point.
Okay, it's been requested. Councilmember Druffel, lead sponsor. You're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm okay with the The turf part, you make a great point on in terms of defining where we go with whether units or square foot. I think this covers, as Councilor Allen suggested, it covers probably a big chunk of where we're going. And so, you know, I'm comfortable if we feel this covers most of what the unit count and the square footage that we're looking for. So I'm good with the amendment as she has submitted here.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think there's some concern about the language in the body about the definition of residential having a unit count limit. Any other members wish to comment on that question specifically? Councilmember Horton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I think I agree with your views that if we do have a definition, it should be agnostic as to unit count. I wouldn't want us to be imposing different burdens based on unit count rather than square footage, which is probably, from a scientific perspective, the more appropriate measure. Appreciate Councilmember Allen willing to hold off on the amendment if we're willing to consider a deferral. So I think it might be appropriate to move for a one-meeting deferral, and if that fails, perhaps we can consider the amendment then. So with that, I'd like to move for a one-meeting deferral, please.
Procedurally, do we need to table the motion on the amendment, or we can just consider a one-meeting deferral motion of the whole legislation? Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a one-meeting deferral has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on a one-meeting deferral? Does anyone have thoughts about other things? We didn't get to we sort of discussed the legislation itself, but we were really on the amendment. Is there anything else that folks think committee members and other folks should have in mind as we consider, we take a little more time to consider amendments for the next meeting? Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had one other thing that sort of I looked at the last one more time and went, oh, now I have a question about that as well. Currently, this requires a development plan to be prepared and stamped by a licensed land surveyor or professional engineer. And I'm just wondering if landscape architect is another entity that can do that same thing. And I haven't done enough homework to know that, and I apologize for that. And just the discussion in general of the stamping.
Is that a question you'd like to direct to experts in the room, or is that discussion you're going to have between now and the next amendment filing
I think since we've got experts in the room, I would love to learn from them here, and that perhaps is something else I may do some more homework on between now and then. So I would use the deferral for that as well.
I believe we've got Mr. Mishu from Water coming up. If you'd please introduce yourself, sir, and if you need us to repeat the question, we'll be happy to. Oh, I apologize. Okay, you're on, sir.
Thank you, sir. Steve Mishu, Metro Water Services. Council member, I appreciate all the discussions that we've had, council member as well. I know you're not asking about the 4 to 6 units or being agnostic. I think maxing it at 4 units will probably cover 95% of all our permits. I think a 6 unit, and like I said, I'm just throwing this out based on what we've seen. I think 6 units will probably cover 99.9% because anything beyond the 6 units would be probably so large that it will kick in a full grading permit. So as far as the units, 4 is good. 6 could be another talking point. Being agnostic to units and going with the square footage would be another discussion point. So just throwing that out. As far as a PE stamp or the surveyor stamp, currently we get probably 50-50 that are stamped with a surveyor and maybe 50% that are stamped with engineers. Tier 1s and Tier 2s, which are our smaller infill permits, can be a surveyor or a PE. The Tier 3s have to be a PE just because of the size and what's required. Generally speaking, surveyors have to do some storm calculations in their part of their graduation, and not necessarily in the architectural firms. We've had a couple architects request to stamp plans in the past. It's not necessarily per the checklist. If it's within their expertise and we've looked at the plans and it seems like they kind of know what they're doing, we've kind of been making some adjustments based on their level of expertise. Currently, it's not in there just because of the schooling requirements and that they're not really doing drainage and erosion controls. But if they feel like they're very competent in that, I don't know why we couldn't explore it if they're competent.
We'll go back to Councilmember Allen.
Thank you. If I have two more questions. So, and is a landscape architect a different stamp from a architect, and do they know more about drainage than architects do?
Mr. Mishu?
So a surveyor stamp is different from an engineer stamp, and an engineer stamp is different from an architectural stamp. So there are three different stamps.
And then what about landscape architect?
I do not know about a landscape architect versus a
Sorry.
That's fine.
architect.
Okay, that may be a question to explore as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and again, just to let folks know where we are, we have a one meeting deferral of the overall legislation being considered by this body. What I just want to make really clear is if there's any other issues that folks want to potentially have addressed via amendment or discussion that we want to have, it would be helpful to bring those up now so that we're not finding ourselves in the same position at the next meeting of saying, oh, here's another issue and we need to defer. So if that happens, that happens. But if someone is aware of another issue, I think it would be most helpful to bring that up now. Councilmember Evan Siegel.
Thank you, Chair. I think there's also a Council Connect topic on this issue that's probably still.
Thank you for reminding me about that. I always forget about that. Okay, well, yeah, so if anything comes up in the meantime, Council Connect is there and you can share it and discuss there. All right, any further discussion on motion for a one meeting deferral? All right, seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, do we still have 9? All right, recommend one meeting deferral, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. All right, and that's everything, right? All right, well, that concludes the business of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. I don't have any specific announcements, but I see Councilmember Evan Siegel would like to be recognized for departmental update, chair report type update. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Quick announcement, which is there is a Council Connect topic on traffic and parking safety related issues. As I think everybody in here knows, we're working on doing a committee meeting that will involve TNP, BPAC, Vision Zero, so that we can understand better how safety issues are prioritized. And one of the conversations we've been having a lot at TNP is about how we all kind of know, like, you can go to a district and you can say, I know these 5 places are terribly dangerous, but nobody has maybe died there yet, so they haven't made a list. But there's something that could be easily addressed in a quick build fashion, whether it's, plastic bollards to demarcate them, paint, a better, lighting, or even like a solar lighting thing, something that's not a true traffic calming, expensive item, but there are things that can be done, and people in the neighborhoods know about them. District council members in particular know where they probably all are. And so I'm just asking if folks have those, if they could just throw them into that Council Connect chat, or send them to the council office to pass along, and I'll post them there for people to see as well. That'd be super helpful, because there are different types of issues that we're facing and different types of solutions. And so to sort of know the universe of things people are worried about before that meeting would be really helpful. It has not been set yet, because we're coordinating among many groups, so we want to make sure, but it'll be a committee meeting, so it'll be noticed. And then the other thing, I have a question, and I think it's an infrastructure question, but just stop me if it's not. Because I know that TNP approved the sublease for the library garage. And so I think that means the garage is an infrastructure issue. But I'm curious, I read the fire marshal's report, I've read the lease, I've requested some additional information. Is there going to be any sort of formal update, either in this committee or somewhere else, of where we stand on the fire?
I'll go to the administration table. If you could share any information about the situation with the garage, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dave Rosenberg with the Mayor's Office, and I will have to check into that. I don't know what plans there are for providing updates or what the status of the investigation is.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember.
Thank you. I guess I would just say we got an email from the fire department, from the fire marshal, I guess it would have been, that said that at this point, the preliminary investigation is that there is no cause. And when I read the lease, I was a little surprised because there was no like property insurance requirement among the insurance. So I would love if whatever that update is includes like who is potentially liable. It seems like it started in a room. What was in that room? Who's in charge of that room? And is there third-party insurance, since there's a lease and a sublease, that would have potentially covered any damages? Would be really helpful to know.
Absolutely, and I know that there is property insurance on it, but I don't know the specifics of it. So,
Thank you. Yeah. So in terms of getting that information, would you be able to maybe provide an email update to the full body or to this committee at a brief update to this committee at the next meeting?
yes.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other updates that committee members would like to share? All right. Seeing none, I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.